So Digital Portal is a URL. Remember, we all bookmarked it last week, circulusdigitalportal.com. Make sure you have that bookmarked in your browser so it's easy to access, circulusdigitalportal.com.
So this is different than Access?
So I'm going to do it as well. I'm going to go to Circulus Digital Portal. Is everyone on the same screen?
Yep. Got it.
Okay. The fourth down on the left is Creative Request. Go ahead and click that button. So, yep. No, you're not quite there. CirculusDigitalPortal.com. PRF, okay? The same creative process you use for TV creative. If it's video-based, you'll use that same exact document, and you email that to Nikki, right? This is for digital creative from a display perspective. So display creative and/or social graphics. Those are the two instances in which you'll use this request. So first thing you do when you are in the system, you go to you log in the system, and underneath order, you select create order. Everyone with me so far? Order, create order. When you select that, you'll be starting a new request. And similar to our online portal that we talked about last week, where there is red asterisk, that's required information. So first you'll enter in your description. I would encourage you to name this specific to the client and the exact campaign. So if you have multiples, you know how to differentiate. So for example, you might type in forum credit card. Next step, you're going to enter your project, which is sales. Next drop down. Your name should be shown as default. You'll want to double check that. Deadline, guys, is going to default to 3 days out. Unless you have a special circumstance, leave it there at 3 days turnaround. And that's the rest you worry about from that top. Now we're going to scroll down to see where it says items in the middle. There's a gray bar across the middle and a blue button. Think of the items as the types or the sizes of ads that you need to request. Okay? So we're going to next select add item, and you'll see a little window pop up. Let's wait to see, make sure everyone's in the add items section. Does everyone have an add item screen up? Paul, you good?
Yep.
Cool. We'll tap that drop down, and we're always going to select web ad. Obviously, we're asking for digital placements here, so we're going to select web ad. Okay? And a few things will pop up. Again, red asterisks are places where we need information. So first and foremost, you're going to title this specifically to, again, the client and the product. Again, if you're requesting multiple things, it's going to keep it clear for the creative team. If it's just one thing, you could type in the size or just the singular product type. Again, I'm going to say forum credit card. That goes in the title. Now this drop down, just below that, has every ad size that we will ever use from a display perspective. Okay? So let's say I need a 970 by 250, which is our homepage takeover. All you do is select that, and it'll populate onto that tab. Now the description is what we... Yep, go ahead.
Chris said all we need to do going forward is put all the sizes in that thing, we don't have to personally select each one.
So this is dependent upon how many different creatives you have and if you have different types of creatives.
Right.
So, yep, so let me
Okay.
come back to the shortcut. So 970 by 250 is selected. When we talked about last week all of the information that we provide our team that makes it easier for them to do their jobs in terms of descriptors, brand standards, images, call to action, all of those things that we talked about. Greg, I think this is one of your questions. All that information, all that ammunition of what they need to know goes in the description. Okay? So I'm going to type in something to the effect of, please use the attached image along with client logo. Call to action is, please make sure to not cut off the house in the image. The point I'm trying to make here is be very specific of what you and your client discussed. You'll click Add Item. You'll notice when you add that item, it'll populate into the item section. Okay? Now, to Kim's point, there's a shortcut here. If you need the same message, meaning we're selling the same credit card message across lots of sizes, you do not need to replicate this process for 7 different ads. To Kim's point, you can type in the name, or I should say, the size of each one of those creatives right here in title. So here you could type in 970 by 250, 300 by 250, 728 by 90, 320 by 50. That is a display set, right? That will save you time. That only works if the same instructions are for every single size. If you have 2 different sets of creative, meaning you need a credit card message and a, making this up, a mortgage message, you'll want to have 2 separate items here. So they're very clear they need 2 separate creatives. Does that make sense? Is everyone with me? You can organize it a few different ways based on how your head works, but the creative services team has suggested we can write multiple ad sizes in that title so that it saves everyone time.
And there can be a slight variation in message down below. In other words, if there's more, like rotators, like probably again, when they have a phone number.
You mean in terms of gifts? Yeah. All of the nuances of the ads you want to have are in that description box.
Okay.
The more the merrier.
Okay.
Absolutely. We're not quite done yet. Down below items, there are 3 little tabs here. Attachments, alt contacts, and notes. You're never going to use alt contacts, so don't worry about that. However, attachments you'll use almost every single time. This is where you will load a logo, a picture, past creative examples, brochures, you name it. Very simply, you click Add Attachment. This window will pop up, and you can drag and drop your file right into this square, and you click Submit, and it'll show up. If you want to include additional notes, maybe there's just something else you really want them to know and you forgot to add it, you can always just click Notes, Add Note, and give them some more instruction. It's another place for you to add in details and comments.
Question.
Yes?
You may have covered this. This is going to our creative services team?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so this goes downstairs to both Chris Newman and Chris Burke. We call them Team Chris, right? So they sit across from Eric in the Creative Services Department. They make our graphics. So let's recap the slide here. So we log into Axis via the digital portal. We fill out the pertinent information up top with the red asterisks, including client name, sales, and your name. Then underneath items, we give them the ammunition of the sizes we need, the descriptors of what we need in that message. And then at the very bottom of the page, we add in any attachments or additional notes. When you're all said and done, you will click Submit at the very bottom of the page. You will get an email notification as confirmation. I encourage you to save all of your confirmations you get. Whether that's from Axis or anything that we do, any confirmation you get, always save it. Any thoughts as to why we should save our receipts?
Tracking, prove the timeline is the one
Prove that you
that's
did
better.
it.
Yeah.
That's one. What's another one?
To make changes.
To make changes, you can
Additions.
reference what you did. And frankly, for me, sometimes I don't remember exactly what I said, right? Did I tell them that that one shade of green was forbidden? I can't remember. Okay, I go in my folder, I type forum, I included it, I'm all good, right?
So a
Please.
question, so this is nothing, this isn't anything new, we've been using this?
We've been using this for quite a while. Yep.
So I guess my question would be for someone who doesn't, what are areas that I may, what are things I should stay away from to make sure, you know, that I'm submitting things correctly?
The biggest thing that you want to stay away from, it's going to sound kind of like a double negative, you want to stay away from not providing enough information.
Okay.
The more information, the bigger story you tell them, the better. Now again, we all know that creating creative is difficult at times. Sometimes our clients will give us a lot to go off of. That's why the referencing the training we did last week on what to gather for a creative request is really, really important. Did you ask your client those 5-6 questions and have clear answers to what their expectation is, any must-haves, images available, all those types of things, right?
Do I still email? After I do that, do I still send an email to Chris and Chris, or this takes the place of that?
So once you submit this request, it goes onto their dashboard.
Okay.
When they finalize a creative, they will email it directly to you. If you have revisions, those all take place via back and forth with the email. This is a system so that they stay organized and know when their deadlines are. So for you guys' information, News uses this exact same thing. Any news graphic that we ever need for a show, for news, lower thirds, you name it, it all goes into this system. So that way, it keeps them very organized and efficient with their time. That way, it's not one system for sales, one system for news, one system for promotions. The entire station uses it.
Are you even using the S drive option?
I'm sorry?
The S drive option that, if you have a lot of assets, you can put your files in the S drive and include a link to that in your access order instead of, if you have like 10, 15 different files that you need to upload to the order instead of having to upload one by one.
It's a
They
great-
suggested using the S drive and then just including that path to save time for all of us.
That's a great shortcut, guys. Save you time, it'll save them time. You'll want to include the path of the S drive in your notes, whether that's in your item or actually as a note. Keep in mind, it has to be the S drive. Not everyone uses the G drive like we do. S drive is what Creative Services uses.
Is it best, we met with some ladies this morning that were doing race relations, doing digitally. Is it best for me, once I have their logo, which I'll get Friday, for me to go ahead and submit